Today, we're diving into the high-stakes world of real estate development. We're talking about how developers make $100 million bets and try not to go bust. You know, it's a world where just one wrong move can create a ghost tower. But the right one? Well, that can literally reshape a city's skyline. So how do they tell the difference between a golden opportunity and a total catastrophe? Let's get into it.
All right, let's just imagine for a second. You're in the driver's seat. You've got $100 million ready to go. You've got the ambition, but you are staring down a huge amount of risk. So how do you make sure your massive investment doesn't just become a massive empty building? Honestly, this is the exact question that keeps developers up at night.
And that big question really breaks down into a few smaller but absolutely critical ones. These are the answers an investor has to have before a single shovel ever hits the dirt. I mean, these are the fundamentals, right? Is the timing right? Are we about to build a bunch of apartments when the market is screaming for houses? Can we actually charge the premium price we're hoping for? Or are we going to have to slash prices just to compete? And maybe most important of all, what is the real bottom line going to look like? If you get these wrong, your project is pretty much doomed from the start.
Now, in today's market, you just can't rely on a gut feeling anymore. The secret to answering all those questions isn't some kind of magic. It's a methodical, almost detective-like process. It's all about uncovering the truth that's hiding in plain sight, right there in the market data.
So, what's actually in this real estate detective's toolkit? Well, it all comes down to one core concept: market intelligence. And let me tell you, this isn't just about collecting data. It's the art of turning a bunch of scattered clues into a rock-solid case for a multi-million-dollar investment.
See, market intelligence isn't just grabbing a few numbers you found online. It is a serious discipline. And the key words here are everything: systematic, verification, and interpretation. It's all about turning raw, messy information into clear, actionable, evidence-based advice that you can actually bet on.
And this slide? It shows you the detective's toolkit perfectly. They are pulling sales data from official government registries, getting rental data from big global firms like JLL and Colliers, and they're even digging into government planning documents to see where the country itself is investing in future growth. It's a real multifaceted investigation.
And this is absolutely crucial. Any single clue, any one piece of data can be really misleading. A good consultant, a good detective, always verifies their findings from multiple angles. This process is called data triangulation, and it's what separates professional, bankable analysis from just amateur guesswork.
Okay, so all the clues have been gathered, the evidence is on the table. Now the next phase begins. This is where the detective work shifts from just collecting evidence to actually cracking the code, connecting all those separate dots to finally reveal the market's true story.
Look, having a huge pile of data is one thing, but how do you actually use it to check the market's health? How do you really know if there's a real active demand for the exact thing you want to build?
Well, one of the most vital signs is something called the absorption rate. Put simply, it just tells you how fast properties are getting snapped up by buyers or renters. It's not about asking prices, which can be wishful thinking. The absorption rate measures what is actually happening on the ground. You could say it's a direct measure of the market's appetite.
Now, in one case from our source material, a market analysis came back with an absorption rate of 30%. On its own, that number might not mean a whole lot to you or me, but to a real estate detective, oh, this is a major clue.
And here's the context that makes that number so powerful. As this chart shows, anything over a 20% absorption rate points to a strong market. So that 30% isn't just some random figure. It's basically a flashing green light. It's signaling that demand is hot and that buyers are out there waiting.
So, the takeaway here is that this single metric, which was derived from all that careful data gathering, gives the consultant a clear, evidence-based answer. Yes, this market is ready for more development. The demand is real. But you know, great investors don't just analyze today's market. They're always trying to figure out tomorrow's. So how do these consultants predict where the next boom is going to happen? Well, it's less about reading tea leaves and a lot more about reading the right signals.
First, we need a little dose of reality. The source material tells us that right now, as of 2026, the market isn't a single rising tide that lifts all boats. It's in what they call a selective recovery. And what that really means is you have to be incredibly smart about where you place your bets. You can't just invest anywhere and expect to win. This slide just breaks it down perfectly. Demand for house and lot projects out in growth areas like Cavite is strong, while a lot of the mid-market condos back in Metro Manila are facing an inventory overhang. Retail and logistics are absolutely booming, thanks to e-commerce. But older, less sustainable office buildings? They're really struggling. The picture is very nuanced.
So what's a huge clue for future growth? It's simple. Follow the infrastructure. Massive government projects like the new Metro Manila subway or the North-South commuter railway are total game changers. Properties anywhere near these new transit lines often see their value shoot up long before the first train ever even runs.
And this right here, this insight is absolutely critical if you want to understand today's market. It's not enough anymore to just be in a good city, you have to be on the right block. A property that's right next to a new subway station can perform completely differently than one that's just a few streets away. The game has become hyper-local.
So, after gathering all the clues, analyzing the data, and identifying the key trends, our detective is finally ready. It's time to present the findings and deliver the final verdict.
But before we get to that verdict, it's really important to remember that real-world data is, well, it's messy. It's not always neat and tidy. A great consultant knows the limitations of their sources and, more importantly, knows how to work around them.
For instance, in the Philippines, official government property values can be years out of date. Online listing prices are almost always inflated, and there's no single central database for everything. This is exactly why a consultant's skill in verifying and triangulating data is so incredibly valuable.
And so, after all that work, we arrive at the evidence-based verdict. The key principles for smart investing in this market are crystal clear. First, ignore the flashy headline numbers and focus on the real net returns after all the costs are factored in. Second, target those infrastructure halo zones, but get in about 2 years before the project is finished to really maximize your gains. And third, look beyond the obvious stuff. Explore niche sectors like data centers and logistics, where quiet but massive demand is often outpacing the supply.
And all this leaves us with a pretty fascinating final thought. As the market gets more and more complex and more data-driven, what's really going to define the next generation of real estate titans? Will it be the traditional skill of knowing how to build things? Or will it be the modern science of knowing how to interpret data? It's a question that could reshape the entire future of the industry.